morning. We're here on the lookout for a river. I can hear it, but we need to get a little bit closer. Let's go have a look. Well, good morning. Mr. Kidd here. Hi. I got out here nice and early to explore some rivers. And I found one, and it took me to here. Rivers are amazing things. They are the transport system of water up in the mountains. When it rains or when there's water up in the mountain and it comes out, it just all collects in the rivers first, and then those rivers bring them on down into reservoirs, catchments, or even down to the ocean. There's rivers all over the world. Some of the rivers are really small. They're more streams, really. But some of those rivers are huge, raging torrents. I'm sure you've seen one like that. And guess what? That also makes me think of yet another story from Jan Brett. This story here is about a chicken who has an adventure on a river. This chicken meets all sorts of interesting animals, but ends up finding the place it needs to be. You know, one thing I love about Jan Brett's books is there's lots of animals. There's always animals in her books. Last time I spoke to you and told you that there was secrets inside of her book, and this one yet again has more secrets, so pay attention.
Yun Yun Primary School English Department presents Daisy Comes Home. Written by Jan Brett. Narrated by Mr. Kidd. Look over the garden wall, and you will see the 6 happiest hens in China. They live in Mei-Mei's sandy yard by the Li River, where they lay brown eggs every day for Mei-Mei to sell at the market. But it was not always this way. Once upon a time, the smallest hen, the one Mei-Mei calls Daisy, was picked on by all the others. This is hard to imagine because Mei-Mei was known far and wide for her happy hens. She gave them treats. She put fresh hay in their nests. She gave them baths when they fell in black mud. And when she called, "Goo, goo, goo, goo," all the hens would run to her as fast as their legs could carry them. Even Mei-Mei's egg baskets were painted with big red characters that read, "Happy Hens." And she tried to make it so. But every night, when it was time to roost in the hen house, the other hens picked on Daisy. They fluffed up their feathers and crowded her off the perch. They jostled her until, peck, one of the others pushed her, and thump, off she fell. Then the hens tucked their heads into their feathers and went to sleep, while poor little Daisy was stuck below on the damp mud floor, shivering and cold until morning. One day, it rained all day, and the hens stayed inside. When it got dark, they flew up their perch, except for Daisy. She had had enough of pushy hens and cold, damp floors. She went outside to find a place to spend the night. Down the riverbank, she spied one of the market baskets. She snuggled in and fluffed up her feathers to stay warm. Daisy was sleeping and didn't see the river creeping up the bank from all the rain. And when the water reached the Happy Hen's basket, she didn't feel it float out onto the river. But when the basket started tipping and bobbing, Daisy woke up. She peeked out and saw a watery world all around her. The sandy yard, the garden wall, and Maymie's farmhouse looked smaller and smaller as the current carried her down the river. Finally, the basket bumped against a strong jetty where a houseboat was tied up. Scratch, scratch, scraped the basket as the river waves pushed it against the sharp rocks. A dog was sitting up on the deck of the houseboat. When he saw the plump hen bobbing in the basket, he barked and scrambled toward her. Daisy squawked and pecked and beat the air with her wings. It was enough to tip the basket off the rocks, and she floated away just in time. Dawn broke over the Gui Mountains as the basket drifted along the river. Branches brushed against it. Fish swam silently by, and birds flew overhead. Suddenly, Daisy felt a thump. Daisy looked up and saw 2 big horns and a pair of surprised eyes looking down at her. The basket had drifted into the legs of a great big water buffalo taking a morning drink. The buffalo snorted loudly, scaring Daisy. She flew forward and nipped his furry muzzle and flapped her wings. Daisy scared the water buffalo. He turned and galloped up the bank, scattering the ducks as he ran. His splashes made waves that carried the basket back into the middle of the river. Daisy traveled along all day until her basket was hooked by the roots of a banyan tree, where a troop of red-tailed monkeys lived. The curious monkeys eyed Daisy and climbed down for a closer look. Daisy froze as one monkey crept up to the basket and reached in. Daisy flapped and pecked, nipped and squawked. The startled monkey pushed the basket away. It broke loose from the tree and floated on down the river. Daisy wondered what would happen next. Up ahead, Daisy saw a fisherman with cormorants diving all around his bamboo boat. They were catching fish and taking them to him for a reward. The fisherman felt a soft bump behind him. Thinking it was a cormorant, he reached back and grabbed. How surprised he was to see that he was holding a hen instead of a cormorant. "Finders keepers," he exclaimed. "Little fish, big fish, silver fish, white fish. That's what I sell at the market. But today I will have this tender young chicken." He put a net over the basket and headed to shore with poor Daisy inside. At home, Maymay had looked all day and all night for her little Daisy. She wasn't in the hen house. She wasn't behind the farmhouse. She couldn't fly over the wall. Where is she? Maymay wondered, worried all the time about what had happened to Daisy. Finally, she knew that she had to go to the market. With a sad feeling, she packed her eggs in the baskets and started on her way. As the baskets swung back and forth, the red characters on the sides of her baskets made Maymay feel sadder and sadder. "Happy hens," she said aloud to herself. "What about my Daisy? Where can she be?" At the market, Maymay found a place and arranged the eggs in clean, sweet-smelling straw. All morning, shoppers bought her fresh brown eggs, but she couldn't stop thinking about her little lost hen. Maymay heard a voice calling to her. It was her friend Zhang, yelling from the back of a bike cart. "A fisherman has a happy hen's basket," he shouted. "What?" she called, not understanding what he was saying. "A happy hen's basket," he repeated. "You'd better hurry because he's showing off what's inside." "Daisy!" Maymay shouted. Maymay raced to where the fish were sold. There was Daisy, beautiful and plump in her basket, surrounded by a crowd, all wanting to buy her. "That's my hen!" she cried out to the fisherman. But his face was like stone. She pointed to the red characters on the basket. "Happy hens," she said. The fisherman crossed his arms. "Finders keepers," he growled and turned away to sell Daisy. Maymay was about to leave, but her eyes rested on those characters. Happy hens. All she could think about was Daisy in a cooking pot. She closed her eyes shut and clenched her fists. She had to do something. "Goo, goo, goo, goo," she called at the top of her voice. When Daisy heard the call, she answered it the way she had every day of her life. She rose up and threw herself against the basket, tipping it over. She ran toward her friend Maymay as fast as her legs could go. Daisy flew onto Maymay's shoulder, and off they went, running back to get Maymay's baskets and go home. The fisherman ran after them, furious. "Stop!" he yelled at Maymay. "That's my hen!" "Finders keepers," Maymay called out over her shoulder. And with Daisy clinging to her, she ran and didn't stop until they were safely home. That night, as the sun went down, Daisy took a place on the roost. When one of the big hens fluffed up her wings and spread out, expecting Daisy to fall off the perch like always, Daisy flapped her wings. "I learned that from a boat dog," she clucked. Another hen tried to tip her off. She pushed right back. "I scared a water buffalo like that," she squawked. Another hen jostled her. "Peck, peck, peck, peck." Daisy kept her place on that perch and beat the air with her wings. She remembered the monkey, and she pecked and flapped all over again. That was when the hens gave Daisy a place of her own. The lap, lap, lap of the river made a peaceful nighttime song. No bumping, no jostling, no fussing around. Just 6 happy hens, their heads tucked in their feathers, high and warm and safe together. The end.
So there you have it. Daisy found her place. She found home. I don't know if the chickens were being very nice to her afterwards either, but I'm glad that Daisy could learn to stick up for herself, don't you think? Well, I've reached the end of my little exploration. Thank you for joining me on it. Time to go home, have some breakfast. But pay attention to yet again, the special things that Jan Brett did in her books. The secrets that she put in, the stories that she told with her words and with the pictures. In this one, you may have to go back and have a look, but she hid some special illustrations up in the mountains. I'm not sure if you noticed. But yet again, Jan Brett amazes us all with the way that she writes stories and the way that she inspires and teaches us important lessons in life. Oh, and there's always animals. All right, I'll see y'all later.